Hi everyone, and welcome to my sewing studio. If you're new here, my name is Rebecca, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to make a fitted and flared out jacket with covered buttons and loops. This jacket is made from an old linen curtain. To start off, we're going to use a piece of muslin that measures about 50 centimeters one way and 50 centimeters the other way. Press the center front of the fabric about 2 centimeters in and pin it in place on the center front of the dress form. It's very important that the fabric is on grain. Next, you're going to pin in place the side seam and make sure that that one also is on grain, and then we're going to shape the princess seam. So I just smooth out the fabric and pin along as I go over the bust point and down to the waist. And then I try to flare out as I go down to the bottom of the jacket. Go ahead and mark the side seam, the princess seam, and the armholes, and also where you're flaring out the jacket in the bottom. Then you can go ahead and cut away all the excess fabric. Moving over to the back, we're going to start the same way as we did with the front. We're going to place a piece of muslin that is pressed and folded about 2 centimeters in on the dress form with the grain line running vertically along the back. Pin the center back and smooth it out. Also pin down the side seam with the grain line running vertically. You'll likely see some excess fabric, and this is where our darts come in. Pinch the fabric and shape it to the body. And then you can also go ahead and flare out the bottom as we did in the front. Then you can go ahead and use a marker and trace around all the seam allowances and the dart and the shoulder seams, and then cut away any excess fabric. Next, you can go ahead and unpin the muslin from the dress form and retrace your marks and cut away the excess fabric. This way you can add seam allowance later. Then sew a mock-up and do any final alterations. To make the sleeves, I just copied a sleeve from an existing shirt I own, but I had to adjust the fit a bit by trimming the sides to match the armhole of my new jacket. Lastly, we're making the pattern for the collar. Place your half-sewed jacket on the bias of a muslin and mark the center front and the center back of the jacket. Connect these lines with a ruler. Just ignore my not-so-straight freedom line. Start with the center back of the collar and add the width that you want on your collar. Next, draw a diagonal line that you connect with the center back line. Then you can cut out this piece and try it on the dress form so you can do any adjustments. After trying it on the dress form, I figured I had to slightly curve the back of the collar to make it lay smoother around the neckline. I also changed the shape of the collar. I started with a pointed collar but ended up with a round shape. I forgot to film this step, but I basically just traced a rounded shape instead of the pointed one. Lastly, I cut out my final collar piece on a folded fabric and trimmed the center back for a smooth curved shape. Finally, we can go ahead and cut out all our pattern pieces with 1 centimeter seam allowances in a outer fabric and also a lining fabric. All the pieces should be cut out in lining as well, except for the collar. This piece you do not need no lining for. Sew together the darts, the side seams, and the back seams on both the lining and outer fabric. Press all the seams open. Then go ahead and sew the shoulder seams on the lining and the outer fabric and press the seam open also. Sew the sleeves together, right side facing each other, both in lining and the outer fabric. Sew a loose stitch on the top of the sleeve and pull one thread so that the fabric gathers together. We're not making a puffed sleeve, but by doing this, we are slightly shrinking the sleeve to fit the armhole of the jacket. This way of inserting a sleeve will not only give the shoulders more structure and a crisp shape, but it will also give your arms more room to move freely. Make sure that you use a lot of pins while you're inserting the sleeves in the jacket because it's very important to try it on before you sew it. Once you're happy with the fit, go ahead and sew together the sleeves in the outer fabric and also in the lining fabric. Moving on to the collar, I added interfacing on one part of the collar and then I added the other part over, sewed it right side together and trimmed the edge. Next, turn the collar inside out and iron it flat. Find the center back of the collar and the center back of the jacket and sandwich the collar together with the lining and the outer fabric, right side facing each other. Pin it in place and sew a stitch along the neckline. Go ahead and use your scissor to make small snips along the neckline to make sure that the collar will lay flat when you turn it around. Flip the jacket around and then you have a collar inside of the jacket. Moving over to the button loops. Go ahead and grab some leftover fabric and cut strips of fabric that measures about 2 centimeters wide on the bias of the fabric. Go ahead and fold the strips in half and sew a straight stitch in the center of the strip. Use a tool to flip them all around. Next, I used a very thin piece of interfacing measuring 4 centimeters in the width and the length is the length of the jacket. I made a mark on the center of this piece and then I made marks every 2 centimeters. I cut the strips that we made earlier into smaller pieces and then I added them in the interfacing piece every 2 centimeters, forming them into loops. And then I sewed it down with a sewing machine. After I've sewed down all the loops to the strip of interfacing, I placed the strip down to the outer part of the jacket's left front, right side facing each other. I sewed it together and took away the interfacing. Next, sew the lining to the jacket, wrong side facing out. Make sure to sew over the existing stitch on the loops. Next, sew a support stitch on the lining fabric along the loops. Do the same steps on the other side front of the jacket except for the loops. Flip the jacket around, wrong side facing out, and then pin the bottom of the jacket together. Make sure to leave a small gap for turning it around. Use your iron to make the hem flat. Fold the bottom of the sleeves 1 centimeter in and pin them together right side facing each other. Sew a straight stitch along the bottom of the sleeve. For some extra details, I made a reversed box pleat on the bottom of the sleeves. Each fold measures 1 centimeters. Make sure that you can fit your arm through the opening. Sew the pleats down with 2 rows of stitches with about 1 centimeter gap between. Next, I made matching buttons with the same fabric as my jacket. I cut out small circles and I added them into my pressing tool where I can press my buttons with this very easy tool that I have. Then I sew down all the buttons to the jacket, making sure that the loops matches each individual button as I go, so that they're all matching up and not pulling the loops. I finished my jacket by sewing down 1 button on each sleeve to tie the whole jacket together. And finally, we are done. If you found this tutorial helpful, please give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more content. Let me know in the comments down below what you want me to make next. And also, don't forget to hit that bell notification button if you want to be notified whenever I post a new video. See you next Thursday. Bye!